This is the future of the Volkswagen brand. Their first all-electric vehicle, which sits on this new electric building platform, the VW ID.3. Here on Autogefühl, we'll take you on a tour on exterior, interior and the technology features. Subscribe if you haven't done so far. And now, let's see, what about this new vehicle? Will it have success? Let's check out in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front you can see a very round shape overall. It reminds of the VW Beetle, and this is also somewhat where this 3 name comes from. There was the Beetle, number 1, there was the Golf, number 2, and this now here as a 3rd very important, significant, iconic car. In the hot studio here, also the cooling of the car is running, by the way, if you hear some sound now. So the 3rd very significant car, therefore VW ID.3. And you can see here in the front the light signature, very interesting in the lights right there. Then also the stripe that goes all over the car from right to left. New VW logo, which has some kind of retro styling. Headlamps start with LED and then optional you get matrix LED. And this color here is called Makena. It's a place on Hawaii, on Maui. So very, sea inspired, but there will be, of course, other colors available. 4 meters 26, 14 foot or 168 inches is the length. But the wheelbase is 2 meters 76 or 109 inches. And that means that the wheelbase is about 13 centimeters or 5 inch longer than one of the VW Golf, whereas it has the same length than the VW Golf. So the overall length like Golf, but the wheelbase here like a Passat. That's very interesting. We'll have an effect on the interior of the vehicle. Wheels come with 18 to 20 inch. Those ones are the biggest one, 20 inch. Different stylings available. This one here is this aerodynamic styling. First edition. This is a special first edition where you can pre-order and then later on you will get different trims. This one here is, so to say, the max trim for this first edition. You have contrasting mirror caps right there. Then the door handles we already know from the Golf, standard one here. Then the dropping line design-wise right there. You can get a dual color right there. For example, here you have a black roof. Then this one is also one with panoramic roof. And this is then a special foil here in this honeycomb design you also have in the front of the headlamps. You see it has some kind of a van shape, and you can see those very, very short overhangs. This is bringing you space on the interior. Pretty interesting. And this new MEB, the modular electric building platform they're using for those cars. Why are they doing it? Because they want to build 10 million cars from all different brands, so not only Volkswagen on this one platform. Then it saves money to have an own platform for that. And that means the batteries are placed in the lower floor right there, as you know from all electric vehicles. You can also see it here in the cutaway model. This brings down the weight of the car, that's not down in sense of less gearing, but it down to the ground, so a lower center of gravity. That is better for agility. And they went for rear-wheel drive here, for packaging and also for weight balancing reasons. 50-50% weight balance, very interesting. And 2 horsepower specs, either 150 or 204 horsepower. So this promises some agile driving, but tell me what you think about the design. In the rear you can see this black panel design, then again this new retro VW logo, and those tail lamps are pretty modern definitely. But again, it has some kind of, this typical head shape they have here in the rear. So it does not look like a very sporty rear-wheel driven car. But I mean, the electric motors, they have instant torque, then this weight balance, then the low center of gravity. So quite possibly it will drive very sporty. Maximum speed, by the way, is 160 kilometers an hour. So that's about 100 miles per hour. That's of course not super high-speed German motorway, but for most countries this will be totally sufficient. Yeah, and for most German traffic situations as well. And what's interesting, talking about the warranty of the battery, you can actually remember that by the speed figures. So 160 kilometers now maximum, or 100 miles per hour, and that's also in 100,000s. The maximum warranty of the battery they're giving, either 8 years or 160,000 kilometers or 100,000 miles. And now we have a different trim and different color for you. This one here in glacier white. Very interesting, and I think it looks pretty good in this black-white trim, doesn't it? What's your take on that? Also, this retro VW logo somehow works very well with the white car then. And indeed, it looks a little bit like the original concept car. There was this very interesting episode where we had the Beetle, the Golf, and the concept of this car. We will also link that, and you can also, compare it. We had an interesting interview also with Klaus Bischoff, head of design there. So tell me, which car do you like best so far here, and would you take it in this one here? Here, by the way, 19-inch wheels. I think that's a very good compromise between, the visual and still having a little bit more comfort. Because if you think about 20-inch wheels, that might cost you a little comfort. It will also just come with a standard suspension here so far. So there are no plans for DCC yet for the dynamic chassis control, adaptive suspension. But I could imagine that it will also come at a later stage. And in the rear, when the car is in white exterior color, this black panel design also forms an even stronger contrast. And you can even better see this ID.3 logo. The official writing is indeed ID.3. But here I think it looks a little bit strange because the dot is so close to the D, and then there's space to the 3. Yeah, but that's a minor detail. Beetle? Yeah. So, but I personally would have wished if this car would have had a real name, like the Beetle or the Golf. Or do you think like this ID name, It also stands for this Volkswagen ecosystem that you log in like with an Apple ID, you log in with a Volkswagen ID, and then have your own software ecosystem inside the brand. That's, the thought behind it. What's your take on that? And talking about the different battery sizes, here again in the cutaway model, where you can very well see again how it's placed in the lower end of the vehicle. And here the rear drive, this one is here as the electric motor. This is also the place where you can recharge the car. Talking about recharging, at the moment maximum 100 kilowatts DC. Later on there will be 125 kilowatt DC charger available, and AC charging up to 11 kilowatt. And then there are 3 battery sizes actually, 48 kilowatt hours, 55 or 77. So those 3 sizes available, and of course the price differs, and Volkswagen promised that the entry price, for example, the German reference, is below 30,000 euros than with the smallest battery. And if you pick like the mid-range battery and some trim, and you might end up like 40,000 plus something. So yeah, it's something like a high-trimmed Golf diesel that will be approximately the price region. And the ranges you can get from those batteries will vary about 330 to 550 kilometers. That's about 200 to 350 miles. Just to show you briefly what's under the front hood, well, not much. It's more like for servicing fluids and so on. So there's nothing really spectacular interesting here. The normal car battery is still right there. So just a short impression right here in the front. So what about this interior? Come inside. This is an early prototype model, so some finishes will be nicer than you see it at the moment. If this one remains hardpack or will be soft touch, we don't know yet. We have to see about that. Leatherette inside here, an insert. Then some reasonable space here at the inside of the doors, but not too high for bigger bottles. Then you can see a lot of buttons have gone. Those are rather those touch fields then, for example, for which light mode is on. Then you can see the steering wheel has a modern form or inserts right there, like we know from the T-Cross. Then a small screen for the instruments, and the interesting thing, it moves alongside with the steering wheel. I'll soon show that to you. Those ones are the Ergo Active seats. Beautiful seats here with a fabric, living room style, grey fabric here, then the brighter microfiber over there. So visually a very nice job already. And standard, this car will also come animal free because they wanted to be a sustainable car. Also, it is CO2 neutral as far as it goes, as far as it is possible. So what's the concept there? Of course, there is CO2 output during production, and they try to, for example, power the plants then with renewable energy. And where you cannot, go around the CO2, they have, for example, forestation projects, where they plant some trees to even this CO2 out. So very interesting and good that they finally take such an approach, especially, considering the latest background with the diesel scandal then. So, but good that it comes animal free, but not in all trims. So, for example, when you go for more elaborated assistance systems, where you have the capacitive steering wheel, which then realize that you're still holding onto the steering wheel and therefore it's not cancelling the assistance systems, you get the animal skin steering wheel, for example. They are working also on different materials for that. But again, you can get it animal free if you like. Then, as I said earlier, right here, the steering wheel moves together with the display. That's very interesting. The good thing is, at no point the steering wheel does block this display, like we know from recent Porsche developments, for example. You have a gear selector right there. This is very interesting. Just have the parking mode here, and then you put in the gears like this for reverse or for D, and then P again. Oh, this car is actually able to drive. I could drive the car now. So this one, then the very interesting gear selector, and of course, just the speed you can see here. So they try to limit it a little bit. There's a head-up display built in here. It's not in function right yet, but there's like a hole in the front, so you can see it. Also, the other car we have here does not have it actually, so you can see the difference then later. But the head-up display will definitely be a very interesting addition. So, in seating position, it's a little bit like in the Golf. There's enough headroom. Moment is 86 or 6 with 1 if you haven't subscribed yet. This one here with the panoramic roof. The other car we'll show to you very soon does not have one. Electric seat control right there, and yeah, it's a standard compact size car seating position here in the front. So not like you would say, oh, this is like the comfort heaven, but it's not uncomfortable at all. So I can very well imagine also as a tall person to sit here also, maybe for mid-range driving, which also the battery is set for. Oh, and Volkswagen seems to become a little bit playful even. Look at that, the brake with the pause button and the pedal with the play button. So yeah, why not? It's a nice and funny idea. This is how the new car key looks like, by the way. Slim and elegant, open and close, and also in this black panel design. So the interior overview, by the way, if you hear the vents blowing, that's the case at the moment here. It's very hot in the studio and I cannot turn them down at the moment. So again, this is a prototype stage also of the infotainment system. But the basic overview first, here soft touch, a bright one at the top of the dashboard, then this LED ambient light, very beautiful. A simple setup, always with this 10-inch screen. It will always come in this very size right here. Again, you can see the setup here with the big screen and the rather small instrument, but you can very well read it because it's very close to the driver. Then again, the retro logo here at the steering wheel. There will be some commands here, for example, for the cruise control or for the volume also at the steering wheel. Then everything is, so to say, almost buttonless. Of course, you have the hazard lights right there, for example, a climate hotkey for assistance systems that you can deactivate, maybe a lane assist if that's too annoying. And the temperature control will also be here, that you can swipe here for plus or minus temperature, or here also for the volume, like this, for the audio. But again, zoom out to the details, then everything clean right there. There's a glove box, for example, in lower part, but this is not a final production stage. Lower part right there. You can put, for example, a smartphone or something. Then the adaptive cup holders right there. Then some, additional, for example, also smartphone holders or whatever. And then you have those, like in a T6 or something, those those armrests right here, or like in the Touareg. And then there's a slider for 2 USB-C chargers. There will, of course, be smartphone connectivity available, and a lot of space near the middle part. You can also have those inserts right there that you can split the room, but that's again because the middle tunnel is free. You can have more possibilities here in the middle in this electric vehicle. And again, this is not final stage, but just to have a brief overview. Not even sure if it will stay like this, but there will be the Space app overview. Then you, for example, have this home screen where you can see the GPS. And then driving data, for example, like this. We know it already from the Golf, for example. Then this one here, it's like a home button, also a visual home button. So just an approximate impression how it will look like this. But again, it will have a different setup. But we can expect, something similar than we know from the 9.2-inch screen of the Volkswagen Golf, for example. By the way, although this is a prototype, it already has a nice door closing sound. Yeah, that's the Volkswagen finish as for that. Yeah, this one again is not ready yet. We have to see about that later in the final production vehicle then. But of course, similar styling. And when you take a look at the styling in the rear, you can see it's the same in the front. Nice here also in this high trim level with a grey fabric again and the bright microfiber ISOFIX at the outside of the seats, each on the outer seats. But you can see the bench is falling way backwards somehow. What about the seating comfort there? We'll soon experience that. And you can already see from here 2 USB-C devices there in the middle tunnel, which is not a real middle tunnel, since this one here is the MEB building platform. You do not need this middle tunnel anymore, so it goes almost, it's a small step. It's, for example, often done, it was a suggestion by you, one of you guys, for structural rigidity. So just a small step in the middle, but it's actually quite good because then you can move around here in the middle seats. The middle part is also actually quite soft from the seating, but a little harder from the back. So I can sit here as a tall adult in the middle, but more important, what about the normal seats here? And yeah, this is the space I would have in a Passat indeed, in front of my legs. So yes, it's actually true. Golf on the outside, Passat on the inside. That's then the advantage of this long wheelbase, which is again possible by this electric building platform. This car, by the way, is built in Zwickau, Germany. They will use only electric cars then in this very plant. That's very interesting. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know, the battery cells are from LG. So, headroom then here. Yeah, that also works then for tall people. Here it's almost all open now. Then you can see you can look through. It cannot be opened as for, like a folding roof. There's just a shade that goes in the front and in the back. So the only thing here in the rear, I mean, it's decent as for space. It's just that you lean very far back, See here this angle. So far it's nice, but I'm not sure how it is on long-term run when you like fall backwards. For sleeping, maybe nice. Other than that, that's maybe something I don't like that much yet. So here you can flip the seats from here. And then there's the middle armrest right there with cup holders and can also be used right there as a ski hatch like this. Yeah, this retro logo has something. I found it quite cool. What about you? Tell me. So, then the hatch, there is this floor cover where below that you can, for example, store some charging cables. We also know that, it's like a Golf style definitely and square dimensions. So what about those dimensions? The normal length of the trunk here is about 80 centimeters and the width is about 1 meter. And the height here up to the cover is about 40 centimeters. And I have already flipped one seat, and to the driver's seat I would be driving. That one then is about 1 meter 55. And now I go around and also flip the rest. You can also see how the ski hatch could be applied right there. And then here we go with the maximum setup. Oh, I think I have the cover here. I haven't put it in properly. So the right side is a little bit higher. Yeah, that's the way. Now it looks better. So this one then is the full setup. I think very well usable overall. Of course, you can also just remove this lower floor cover to have a little bit more height. And I want to open the hatch once again. And just to show you, like this cutting out job here, this is pretty unique, right? So not sure what to think about it yet, but it's definitely special. So, different interior trim here also. For example, you can get different colors for the inside of the doors, and also this panel here in white. Also, the steering wheel is available in white, but at the moment when you have it in white, it will also come in animal skin spec, so that's a warning from my side. Then here again with this brown contrast. But I think this dual color design for the interior is a very interesting approach, definitely. Also, again with the retro logo right here. Prototype software standings here in this display. So just to show you a little bit more variation, how it can actually look like. But my favorites are indeed the seats here. Again, they're the same in this car and also in the other car, where they also have this dual tone design. So, pretty cool, leather red here on the top part. So we can expect a lot of different trims here. And again, this new living room design is something which is prevailing in electric vehicles because they want to make the cars a little more, like hospitable. How can you say? You can look here in the rear, different colors for that. You will have, again, different color choices, especially also for the interior. So, again, a little bit more playful than maybe some of the past vehicles we've seen. And now to our conclusion for today with the Volkswagen ID.3. Will it be as iconic as the VW Beetle or as the VW Golf? We do not know yet. It definitely means a lot for the company, and I think this paradigm shift, thinking about a CO2 neutral production, for example, being more environmentally friendly, being sustainable, this is also something that, comes from the background. It also, in this case, has to come from top down. And this car is supposed to stand for that. Of course, we'll follow the development if they really stick true to their word, because that's also something which is very important to us here at Autogefühl. On the exterior, you definitely see some quotes of the VW Beetle, so it has some retro elements, also fitting to this new retro style logo of VW. Especially then with the short overhangs, the long wheelbase, the car appears bigger than the Golf visually, but it's actually the same length, as I said. And indeed, it is true that it has an interior space of a Passat, especially a lot of legroom there in the rear. Not exactly sure how comfortable it is, because the rear bench is falling so much backward that it would be one criticism point in the interior. The software and the infotainment was not ready yet, so we cannot rate that. So we have to do that at a later stage, but we'll of course keep you updated on that. But the setup with the small screen, with the steering wheel that always moves together with the steering wheel, actually makes sense. Nothing is blocking your view. There will be a head-up display available, as I said also. And the screen of the central infotainment is also actually right-sized. Hardly any buttons left. Everything a very clean layout. So this already looks quite promising. And on the one hand, they can use existing stuff like, be it door handles or the door closing sound, which is very solid in the Volkswagen Corporation. Of course, on the other hand, they have to work on new stuff which hasn't been there before. So it will be very interesting if they can live up to this challenge. Again, about 30,000 sold so far. So basically all pre-sold cars, which could be pre-sold, are actually sold. So this is a first positive sign. Of course, it will be very interesting if they can, for example, keep up with the sales of a Tesla Model 3. If you think about this, German internal competition, we recently had also the Opel Corsa E, the electric version of the Corsa, and that one, was also about the same price in a somewhat entry spec, but with some equipment in it. But this one here actually is, of course, the same size then, the same price, but a bigger size. So you get more car for the money. So could this then be the German electric car for the masses? Probably yes, because they build so many cars on this very platform that they can also offer it at an attractive price. And this will be probably the most important thing about this vehicle. Battery sizes and range will be enough if you want so. It depends on your driving profile. If you don't drive so long kilometers in one route, then you can also save money and go for a smaller battery. It's actually also more environmentally friendly then. And if you really want to, go all the way, you have to invest a little bit more money, and that, of course, get a little bit more range. Of course, now interested to look to your feedback. Please give us some comments here on the ID.3. Let's discuss this car, and we'll keep you updated, of course, very soon with driving it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't done so far. See you next time.